p.m. in Vomeka in the Jal Lobo division of the South region of Cameroon. Same time in Douala, Cameroon's economic capital city. Equinoxe Central News Desk. Ladies and gentlemen, thanks for joining me. For me, I'm Sean Sander on our primetime newscast. Cameroon's Anglophone elite are questioning the government's peace initiative with President Paul Biya's call for traditional leaders and elites of the English-speaking northwest and southwest regions of Cameroon to talk to armed separatists in the bushes to lay their weapons. These actors say that the individuals assigned by the president have lost legitimacy, as most of them no longer visit the northwest and southwest English-speaking regions of the country. Meantime, a group of congressmen from the United States of America have written to the Secretary of State, Marco Rubio, asking him to get interested in the situation in Cameroon. They are saying that the situation that follows the election in Cameroon is disturbing with the rights of individuals of Cameroonian nationality violated. The group is asking for a thorough investigation and an immediate report. These stories and more will be yours in this edition of the news. And now we're glad you're joining us in this edition of the news in French and English, rather our primetime newscast on Equinoxe television. Now we're starting with our top story. A group of U.S. Congress members have sent a formal letter to the Secretary of State of the United States of America, Marco Rubio, condemning the presidential election in Cameroon as what they say is a stolen victory and calling for an urgent United States action to address human rights abuses and undermined democratic practices, which they say is ongoing in Cameroon. The bipartisan group of lawmakers of the U.S. described the October 12, 2025 presidential election as deeply flawed and fraudulent, warning that the ensuing crisis threatens the stability of the Cameroonian nation and the Central African sub-region. Details with Staff Lady Annabella.
The American politicians stated clearly that the election crisis all began with the disqualification of opposition leader Professor Maurice Kamto and the banning of REDAC and other civil society organizations by a 43-year-old regime headed by a 93-year-old leader. The arbitrary arrest of human rights defenders, journalists and activists ahead of the elections were a serious blow on democratic norms and principles required for a free and fair election. The American congressmen denounced incidents such as the shooting to death of Madame Zukaira, a teacher in Garoua, on October 21, the abduction, murder of Honorable Abe Michael on October 22, the arrest of Anise Kane, Florence Ticho, Jacob Chamini, all three top figures who endorsed the candidacy of Issa Chiroma Bakari. The American politicians as well cited the violence and killings which took place in Douala by protesters who accused the government of stealing their vote. The arrest of Professor Jean-Carbin Oyono, whose whereabouts is still unknown, also preoccupied the American congressmen. In their letter of worry to the American Congress, Congressman Jonathan Jackson and 8 other colleagues respectfully called on the U.S. Congress to urge Cameroonian government to release all political prisoners, respect fundamental freedoms and the will of the Cameroonian people, hold perpetrators of crimes and human rights violations accountable, preserve peace, and urging all parties to refrain from violence. And finally, the American congressman wants the Congress to press for the support of inclusive political dialogue in Cameroon with mediation by regional or international partners to pipe down tensions and facilitate a peaceful presidential transition in the Republic of Cameroon.
Staff Lady Annabella reporting on the formal letter of U.S. Congressmen to the Secretary of State, Marco Rubio. And now on to one of our top stories. Some elites from the Anglophone Northwest and Southwest English-speaking regions of Cameroon have raised eyebrows as President Paul Biya, in his inaugural speech, urged traditional leaders and political elites of this extraction to raise awareness to armed separatists to choose peace option and deposit their weapons. The elites are dumbfounded because, according to them, most of these individuals, including traditional rulers and political elites, elite escaped from their villages, towns, and cities in the region and are now residing either in Yaoundé, Bafoussam, or the city of Douala. In short, they say that the individuals assigned by the president to go for peace talks in the English-speaking regions have lost legitimacy. We have details with Equinoxe.
J'invite à cet égard les chefs traditionnels, les élites.
A key statement in President Paul Biya's inaugural speech was the call on traditional leaders and elites in the two English-speaking regions to engage more than ever before in raising awareness among members of armed separatist groups, encouraging them to accept government's olive branch and lay down their arms for the two regions to know peace again. An assignment given to persons who, according to some elites from these regions, do not know what their villages resemble, since the Anglophone crisis escalated even when the Minister of Territorial Administration had asked them in 2020 to return to their villages and assist in the process of bringing back normalcy.
He's talking to people who are instead with him in Yaoundé, who just landed like people who are coming from a different planet and gathered the votes that they gathered for him, and then went them back to Yaoundé the very next day. And so I'm still to see how people, traditional rulers who have abandoned their palaces since 2017 and are living next door to him in Yaoundé, and some of them are actually saw them attending his swearing in, can overcome the challenge that he has given to them.
I think that most of the chiefs are living out of their villages. They are living more in urbanized environment. We know many chiefs who migrated during the crisis. They have never seen their fondoms. They are out of their fondoms. Their people have lost confidence with them. Their people have lost contact with their chiefs. We know chiefs in Northwest that have never gone to their villages for about 7, 8, 9 years now, and who performs the traditional rites and the libation for peace when they are not in their villages. We have Lord Mayors that have been executing the council budget out of their own locality.
It is baffling how such traditional leaders and elites away from their communities will effectively raise awareness among members of the armed groups with the assistance of their subjects, parts of whom no longer see them as true lions.
There's been a disconnect between traditional rulers and their population, a disconnect between the elites and their population, because since the outbreak of the conflict in 2016, we've seen the rise of counter elites. Of course, we know counter elites and counter leaders, either be they in the diaspora or in the bushes in the Northwest and the Southwest.
They are not even with their people, and their people have lost trust with them. We need trust building. I think that the Lord Mayors, the chiefs, and the political elites who have never been to their villages, the people don't trust them. Even during campaign, we saw it. Most of the political elites could not go to their villages. So we're even going through armored cars and chiefs even go to their villages. They enter their village at night. They leave at night. They enter their own villages like strangers. They enter and run.
The renewed call for traditional leaders and elites in the Anglophone regions to assist in restoring peace is regarded as a trap laid for them.
I'm sure Biya is reading through the results that came from the presidential elections, where he had 83.6% from the Northwest. So to him, it means that the elites and the traditional rulers are in control of the region. So he had actually set a trap for them to really prove, go back now and talk to the boys since you are in control. I'm sure, according to Biya's thinking, he does not see how you can give him 83% and people are still in the bush. So he has given them the challenge.
Political elites and chiefs have to take responsibility to mediate and bring peace. There are various villages, and peace is very paramount.
While Colbert Gwine hails President Paul Biya for tasking Anglophone traditional leaders and elites to collaborate in ending the armed conflicts in their villages and divisions, Dr. Bose Niba stresses the need for a major national dialogue to implant peace in Cameroon.
On November 6, 2025 was a significant day across the nation Cameroon, marking the swearing-in ceremony of President Paul Biya for his 8th term of office and the 43rd anniversary of his accession to the Supreme Magistracy in Maroua, the capital of the Far North region. The event was held under heavy military presence, which some local inhabitants describe as a one-man show. Many residents of Maroua expressed concerns that the heightened security measures were just insufficient to address the growing insecurity and security concerns across the city, but also in the entire Far North region. Malaglory tells us more from Maroua.
The events were combined into a single swearing-in and anniversary celebration, bringing together a large number of militants from all four corners of the city of Marua. The governor of the Far North region, who presided over the event, was delighted.
Inauguration of the NSF, the new mandate, added to the anniversary. That's the 43 years in power. And all what I've been said is lecture. It's very important, particularly for the Far North region.
In his speech, the head of state placed special emphasis on youth employment and women's promotion. However, many have pleaded for better security in Marua, as well as the reintegration of young doctors and nurses awaiting appointment.
L'intégration de ces jeunes-là, nous voulons que le président nous renforce la sécurité.
The ceremony ended with a motion of support addressed to the President of the Republic by Bubakari Abdullahi, member of the CPDM Divisional Permanent Delegation for the Diamari.
Now, Cameroonians in Buea in the southwest region of Cameroon watched the oath-taking ceremony of President Paul Biya for an 8th term from different perspectives. While something that it was a failed event, something it was sufficient enough and gives hope for the expectation of measures adequate to tackle the developmental, security, social and economic challenges faced by Buea, the southwest, and the entire nation Cameroon. Let's have more with Rex Afron in Buea.
Buea is relatively busy this Tuesday.
In mile 16 where I am, you would see that on a normal day, that is, if it were to be a ghost town day, people will not be moving around like they are.
To some, the now traditional Monday ghost town is sufficient.
We are very okay with our Monday ghost towns. We don't need any other additional ghost towns. We've been suffering here for more than 10 years. Nobody has come to help us. So they should try and see how it looks if people are on ghost town.
Others say the economic situation of the country obliged them to go out and hustle.
I just have to open, because even if I don't do that, how can I cater for my family? How can we feed? We can't continue to stay indoor, because if we continue indoor, it means we'll definitely die of hunger. We need to stay alive. The atmosphere in Cameroon is not that good. It's not that good. It's not really good. Things are going backward. Things are not pulling well. Businesses, even despite the fact that we open, businesses are not going well.
Only that, most travel agencies here still remain inactive, especially the ones transporting people to Yaoundé, Chang, Bafoussam and Bamenda. Unlike early last week, a few passenger vehicles traveled to Douala.
I came here about 8:30 in the morning. So I'm sending about 2 vehicles like that. So things are not really moving the way it usually moved back then. There is no passenger. People don't want to travel because they are afraid. About this time, I've sent about 8 or 10 vehicles like that to Douala, Rond-Point, Daido.
Calls for amicable settlement of the ongoing crisis in the country still resonate here.
All I want is peace, and I see my country very peaceable. And I know God is taking us to another level. But I beg for all those who want to bring problems that they should calm down. God is in control.
Though many here are supporters of presidential candidate Issa Chiroma Bakari, their realities have prevented them from adding 2 more days to what they call the normal Monday ghost town.
And out of Cameroon without a transition, the U.S. President Donald Trump's threats to take military actions against the Federal Republic of Nigeria over reports of Christian persecution has sparked intense debate and concerns. Trump cited the killing of Christians by radical Islamists as the reason for the threat, but Nigerian political officials argue that these claims are not valid. They say that the country's constitution guarantees freedom of religion, and the terrorism that affects Nigeria affects both Christians and Muslims. In contrast, the situation in Senegal, still in Western Africa, is marked by a severe death crisis, with hidden debt in the country estimated to around some $7 billion, pushing the country's debt to GDP ratio 132%. This highlights the economic challenges facing some African countries and the need for sustainable solutions to address these challenges. We have the details on international roundup page with our staff lady, Immaculate Fogwe.
U.S. President Donald Trump's threat to take military action against Nigeria over alleged Christian persecution has sparked intense debate and concern. Trump claims Nigeria is a country of particular concern due to religious freedom violations, citing the killing of Christians by radical Islamists. He warned that if Nigeria doesn't crack down on these groups, the United States may interfere. Nigeria's President Bola Tinubu rejects Trump's claims, emphasizing the country's commitment to religious freedom and tolerance. Tinubu's government says they are working to address insecurity and extremist violence which affects both Christians and Muslims. In the month of May, rights group Amnesty International reported that more than 10,000 people had been killed in jihadist attacks across the central and northern Nigeria in 2 years since President Bola Tinubu took office. The situation remains tense, with both countries engaging in diplomatic efforts to resolve the issue. While some see Trump's move as a bold stand for Christians, others worry about the risk of military action and its impact on regional stability. Meanwhile, Senegal is facing a severe debt crisis, with hidden debts estimated to be at about $7 billion, pushing the country's debt to GDP ratio to 132%. The International Monetary Fund, IMF, has frozen Senegal's $1.8 billion lending program and is demanding reforms to improve fiscal transparency and debt management. The new government, led by President Bassirou Diomaye Faye, has launched an audit to uncover the extent of hidden debt and is working to negotiate a new program with the IMF. The government aims to reduce the fiscal deficit to 3% of gross domestic product by 2027 and implement reforms to improve revenue collection and expenditure control. The debt crisis has led to a downgrade in Senegal's credit rating, and investors are closely watching the situation. IMF is expected to decide on a waiver for Senegal's debt misreporting and could impact the country's access to international capital markets.
And that's all for the first part of news. Coming up with talking points. Stay with us, ladies and gentlemen. You are welcome to joining us on Talking Points. Tonight we're receiving Dr. Ivor Dita. We had him some few days ago on this same program. And now Dr. Ivor Dita is joining us from the United States of America, that is from Texas. With him, we'll be finding out, as a Cameroonian, he show a way of what Cameroon is living, the unrest. Cameroon as a nation that is living an unrest that followed the election and results proclamation. You show followed the street protests across the regions of the country and the response from governing officials. How did you feel viewing these scenes from home country, Dr. Ivor Dita?
As a Cameroonian, I am ashamed of what is happening in my home country. I can no longer be proud of telling anyone out here that I was born in Cameroon. It is that bad, Mr. Armstrong. What we are witnessing is a travesty, and it is heartbreaking. The pain that Cameroonians are going through right now is unacceptable and uncalled for. And this is happening despite the fact that this regime has been there for 43 years. Cameroonians have been so gracious to grant this regime 43 years, during which they have ruled with impunity. A small proportion, less than 1% of the Cameroonian population, enjoying more than 90% of what was supposed to come back to the people. At 92 years, you cannot tell me that Mr. Biya believes he is the one to move the country into the future. Mr. Armstrong, I am a physician, and I can tell you unequivocally that at 92, no one has the cognitive ability to run complex affairs, such as those of running a country. Therefore, after 43 years of failed policies, Mr. Biya, at 92, should realize that it is time to take his needed rest. At this age, these people are have fun by playing with their grandchildren, playing with their great-grandchildren. And for Mr. Biya to believe that he is still in a position to rule Cameroon is truly mind-boggling. And that is why Cameroonians know this as well, and that's why they're coming out. Youth, women, civil society, taking to the streets, protesting what was a fraudulent election, rigged in the true sense of the word. They keep asking for peace, but how can there be peace without justice? The corruption has reached untold proportions. We need change, Mr. Armstrong, and we need it urgently. Stop.
And now, we are saying this, the president, even in his inaugural speech, reiterated the need for peace, the need for Cameroonians to consider working together, the need for Cameroonians to consider dialogue over violence. Now, among these reactions that came in from out of Cameroon, we also had the European Union, Canada, and most recently the United States of America, for example. The European Union that called for the respect of democratic principles, rights of individuals, protection of political actors, and the release of arrested individuals. These are so far not received a favorable response from Cameroonian governing authorities. What are they risking? Dr. Ivor-Dita.
What we are witnessing in Cameroon is a travesty, a crisis felt by every Cameroonian deep in their bones. The unrest we see is not just a protest, it's the voice of a nation wailing in pain. Let's be clear again, Mr. Armstrong. Mr. Chiruma is the legitimate president of Cameroon. Despite the proclamation of the Constitutional Council, it is clear that he won the elections. And this is not just an opinion. It's the conclusion of every independent and international body that has examined the situation honestly. The response from international bodies has been very muted, if not completely absent. Most of them who have spoken on the outcome of this election simply say they have taken note. In French, they say, on a pris acte. This is because they have taken note of what the Constitutional Council has proclaimed. In diplomatic terms, that's the rightful thing to do. But if you ask these bodies whether do they truly believe that Mr. Biya won the elections, they will tell you no, and that is why no one has come out in flying colors to thank Mr. Biya, to praise him, or to congratulate him for winning the October 12th presidential election.
Now, Dr. Ivor-Dita, I actually, like many would say, it is still your opinion. I would insist, because we've gone past the stages already. He's been proclaimed as the president. He was sworn in as the president of the Republic of Cameroon, and of course gaining the legality and the legitimacy that goes with it. I think the question now on many lips should even go beyond what the international bodies and international partners of Cameroon are saying or are not saying vis-a-vis who won and who did not win, but the question should just be the how far of Cameroon even after this period, or now that he has gotten another mandate to run Cameroon. I want to know from you if you, like some other Cameroonians, are afraid that things might get worse from what obtained already from this stage onward?
Let me be very clear. Mr. Biya and his 43-year-old regime are caught in outright stealing. They can try to silence the truth, but the people know what happened. And Cameroonians know it too well. At the same time, the government has done nothing to address the ongoing killings, the suppression of peaceful protests, and the displacement of civilians all over the country. If you look back now, this situation is very similar to what happened in the northwest and southwest of Cameroon, where for 9 years we have had a war that has killed hundreds, if not thousands of people. And yet, the government says the situation is under control. Rather than be proactive in solving problems, they have decided to wait out problems. And in that way, a lot that was never supposed to happen has happened. We cannot ignore the arbitrary arrest of opposition leaders. Mr. Anise Ekane, what is he doing in jail? Just come to think about it. And he is not in good health, we hear. Professor Abba Oyono, what is he doing in jail, in detention?
Thank you. Questions not only coming from you, we've heard U.S. congressmen also raising concerns on the needs for the rights of individuals to be respected in Cameroon, and hopefully that will have a favorable response. Dr. Ivo Jita, just before I take leave of you, unfortunately I will be going back to a question that should have been asked several days ago, that of the diaspora. Now, the president won, but within the diaspora, the opposition won, and most of them largely voted, or most of the voters out of Cameroon, including in the United States of America, where you voted against the CPDM regime, at the helm of which we have President Paul Biya. What could be their main vexation, that of the Cameroonian diaspora?
Yes, you're right. The diaspora overwhelmingly voted for the opposition. This is no surprise. Just look, for example, for more than 4 decades, the diasporans have been crying for dual citizenship. And yet, this government continues to make false promises to grant dual citizenship. Most of those in the diaspora could not even vote because during registration for elections, the Minister of Territorial Administration decided against what is in the Constitution who was eligible to register to vote. They introduced documents that are not stated in the Constitution, and as such, many Cameroonians in the diaspora were not able to vote. And I guarantee you, if we, or the diasporans, were able to vote in their entirety, the victory would have even been much more overwhelming.
That's in the United States of America. Some of the worries he raised, notably asking why, what some arrested individuals are doing in prison or in detention, are questions already asked by local actors, notably the Bishop of Bafang in the West region of Cameroon, the Archbishop of the Douala Metropolitan Archdiocese, the European Union, Canada, and even the United States of America, with their congressmen, writing to the Secretary of State of the United States of America. Ladies and gentlemen, thanks immensely for choosing to be informed by the best of television network Equinoxe. Stay connected to the best of programs. Have a nice weekend.